Good morning, and welcome to White Bear Unitarian Universalist Church. We are delighted to have you here in this virtual space. It's good to be together, a community of youth, adults, and children, sharing the values of courage, reverence, and compassion. I'm Jenna Borgmeyer, she, her, and I am a member of our board of directors. Our ministry team will be running Cyber Social Hour beginning 5 minutes after the postlude. The Zoom link is in the chat and on our website. It's a 20-minute session of conversation and sharing designed to provide a deep and intentional welcome to all. Children and youth, as well as adults, are welcome to attend. We'll have a special breakout group for the youth and children. If you have a request for today's meditation, please share it in the Zoom chat box. If you're new today, please fill out a guest card, also found in the chat box. And please be sure to sign up to be a part of our e-news mailing list, where you'll learn about everything happening here at White Bear UUC. We're happy to announce Self-Guided Soulwork Wednesday. This will take place in person at the church every Wednesday this month and next from 3 to 6 p.m. This is a choose-your-own-adventure time of spiritual care and nourishment for all ages, and it's designed for folks to drop in as your schedule allows. Participants will be able to walk the labyrinth, write their story, set an intention, share with a small group, and/or meditate in the sanctuary. All activities will be physically distanced. Besides myself, servants participants today include Reverend Jack, Reverend Roger, Amy Peterson-Derrick, and Gloria Ferguson, with behind-the-scenes support from Aaron Scott and Reverend Sarah. Music today is from the OK Factor. Welcome to our church. Together we grow our souls and serve the world in love.
Come in. Come into this place which we make holy by our presence. Come in with all your vulnerabilities and strengths, fears and anxieties, loves and hopes. For here you need not hide nor pretend, nor be anything other than who you are and who you are called to be. Come into this place where we can touch and be touched, heal and be healed, forgive and be forgiven. Come into this place where the ordinary is sanctified, the human is celebrated, the compassionate is expected. Come into this place. Together we make it a holy place. Gloria Ferguson will lead us in our chalice lighting.
For some years before I retired, and now, 5 years later, I've given myself permission to take January off. Oh, I still went to work then, and I still take care of my young grandchildren now, but beyond that, I snuggle in like a cat in a blanket-lined box. Poet Britton Oakman's poem reflects the frequent awkwardness of such a decision in the pre-pandemic era. She says, "I lied and said I was busy. I was busy, but not in a way most people understand. I was busy taking deeper breaths. I was busy silencing irrational thoughts. I was busy calming a racing heart. I was busy telling myself I am okay. Sometimes this is my busy, and I will not apologize for it. In truth, sometimes I'm busy reclining on my couch reading romance novels and munching strawberry Twizzlers before getting up to exercise or work on a quilt or bake some bread or write a letter or call a faraway friend. For me, this quiet time is precious. When the days get a little longer, I will emerge from this partial hibernation. But right now, I'm busy.
I invite you to join in our unison opening words. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. I invite you now to join wherever you are in singing out loud our opening hymn, May Your Life Be as a Song, number 1059 in our teal hymnal.
Life be as a song, resounding with the dawn, to sing like a light, and softly serenade the stars, ever dancing circles in the night. May your life be as a song, resounding like a dawn, to sing like a light, and sounding with the dawn, to sing like the light, and softly serenade the stars, ever dancing circles in the night.
Good morning. This morning, instead of a story, I wanted to do a little show and tell. And in a way, the show and tell is a little about all of you and about the little treasures that you might see taped to my door or sitting on my desk. Most of these treasures are drawings and other handmade items given to me by mostly children and youth, but sometimes also adults who just wanted to share something with me. I'm sure that many of you have items like these two, little blessings from someone kind in your life. These blessings come in all forms. It's a form of a blessing when we wish someone happy birthday or when we wish someone good luck. Sometimes we say that we offer a blessing before a meal when we take a moment to appreciate the food in front of us and the hands that prepared it and the company that shares in it. Some of these blessings may be tangible, like the ones I keep on my desk, and some of these might be taped to your refrigerator or in picture frames or sitting on a desk or altar of your own. These little treasures are gifts that keep on giving because every time we see them, we get to think about the people who gave them to us and relive the memories of the time when they were given to us. They remind us that someone was thinking of us once. Just because. Isn't that a miraculous thing to think that someone is thinking of you and wishing you well, even right this moment? One of the treasures that sits on my desk appeared kind of out of nowhere just a few years ago. One evening, as I was getting ready to leave my office at church for the day, I made sure to leave my office door open so that a youth, who was a younger child at the time, could have a place to sit while their parent had a meeting that evening. I knew that it might be a longer evening, so I wanted to make sure that they had a comfortable place to sit until the meeting was over. When I returned to my desk the next morning, this little paper box was waiting for me. It says, "Box of Positivity" on the outside, and on the inside, it contains little pieces of paper with lovely positive thoughts and reminders. "Double rainbows," says one. Another says, "Think positive." You are so kind, and doggos. These are just a few of the little bits of positivity in this box that I now treasure. Receiving this gift moved me. You see, I had been having just a rotten couple of days, and this one little kindness made my heart feel so much lighter. These little blessings are not blessings that I had asked for, but as soon as I received them, I knew that they were exactly what I had needed. Since then, I have thought a lot about this, the way that sometimes random acts of kindness come right at just the right time, but also about how unwilling we are sometimes to just ask for a blessing or a kindness when we need it most. I would bet that right now there are many of us out there who are in need of little blessings, well wishes, small kindnesses to remind us that someone out there is thinking of us. And I would bet that there are many of you out there who are willing to offer little blessings and kindnesses to others who need them too. So I want to invite you all to take a risk with me and lean into a practice of offering and asking for kindnesses from one another, especially right now, at a time when so many of us are exhausted or isolated or just tired. You can do this by signing up to send and or receive small blessings with others in our church community. These blessings can be a simple card, it can be a drawing, it can be a poem that brings you hope, or other small homemade items that are just full of good wishes. You can sign up to be a blessing buddy by January 30th using the link found in the e-news, and I'll also add it to the chat box today here on Zoom. You can sign up to participate in any way that feels comfortable for you. Sign up to receive a blessing anonymously if you wish, or you can opt to share a little bit more about yourself and your story if you are hoping to connect on a deeper level with someone in your faith community. I hope that you will also sign up to send a blessing if you are able to as well. But if you are in a place where you just need to receive a blessing, that is okay too. The first week of February, blessing buddies will get the information they need to send their blessings, and anyone who participates will be welcome to join in a Zoom party on Sunday, February 13th at 1 p.m. Friends, it's okay to ask one another for kindnesses. I'm looking forward to sharing our blessings with one another over the next few weeks. But until then, I'm sending you all little blessings of double rainbows, doggos, and reminders that you are so kind.
Let's come together in meditation. I invite you to get comfortable. Be aware of your body. Notice your breathing. Take in the space where you are. Then bring your attention to being part of this worship community, present this morning in around 162 households in at least 2 countries. I invite you now to shift your attention to your inner journey. As the world mourns the death this weekend of Thich Nhat Hanh, a spiritual leader who embodied the Buddhist ideals of compassion, equanimity, and mindfulness to such an extraordinary degree, let's hear again the last words the Buddha is said to have uttered. Be ye lamps unto yourselves, or make yourself a light, as Mary Oliver put it in her poem, The Buddha's Last Instruction. Thich Nhat Hanh exemplified finding and nurturing that inner light so he could make a light of himself, a light that shined brightly regardless of what was going on around him. Indeed, his inner light lit up the world. May each of us know that we too have an inner light that can light up the world around us. May we tend to that light and let it shine. May this sacred community be a place where together we can light our lights, let our light shine as we grow our souls and find ways to serve the world. This morning, we especially hold in our hearts James Harmon, his son Steve, his granddaughter Renee, and their families as they mourn the death of James' daughter, Deborah Lee Harmon. We hold in our hearts Sally Colwell and the children of Jeff Janicek and Sally as they mourn Jeff's death a few days ago. Jeff and Sally have been a beloved part of this church for 25 years. May Sally feel surrounded by love and support. A memorial service will take place after we return to in-person worship. And we hold in our heart Helena Bloomquist and her granddaughter, Natalie, who recently lost a friend to suicide. I invite you now to speak into the silence the names of others who are on your hearts this morning. May each of us find ways to be lights unto ourselves and for those around us. Amen.
Your gifts to this congregation are many and varied, including giving of your time and talents. Today, we ask for a gift of your treasure to help sustain the work of this congregation as together we grow our souls and serve the world. Thank you for your generosity and your faith in this life we live together.
Our first reading today is an exploration of the word regret by the poet David White. Regret is a short, evocative, and achingly beautiful word, an elegy to lost possibilities even in its brief enunciation. It is also a rarity and almost never heard except where the speaker insists that they have none, that they are brave and forward-looking and could not possibly imagine their life in any other way than the way it is. To admit regret is to understand we are fallible, that there are powers in the world beyond us. To admit regret is to lose control not only of a difficult past, but of the very story we tell about our present. And yet, strangely, to admit sincere and abiding regret is one of the greatest but unspoken contemporary sins. Sincere regret may, in fact, be a faculty for paying attention to the future, for sensing a new tide where we missed a previous one, for experiencing timelessness with a grandchild where we neglected a child of our own. To regret fully is to appreciate how high the stakes are in even the average human life. Fully experienced, regret turns our eyes, attentive and alert to the future, possibly live better than the past. And our second reading is an excerpt from this week's New York Times article by Amanda Gorman, the 2021 inaugural poet. It's told like this, Amanda writes. Amanda Gorman performed at the inauguration, and the rest is history. The truth is, I almost declined to be the inaugural poet. Why? I was terrified. I was scared of failing my people, my poetry. I didn't know then that I'd become famous, but I did know at the inauguration I was going to become highly visible, which is a very dangerous thing to be in America, especially if you're Black and outspoken and have no Secret Service. The night before I was to give the inaugural committee my final decision felt like the longest of my life. My neighborhood was eerily quiet in that early morning dark, though I strained my ears for noise to distract me from the choice that lay ahead. It felt like my little world stood still. And then it struck me. Maybe being brave enough doesn't mean lessening my fear, but listening to it. I closed my eyes in bed and let myself utter all the leviathans that scared me, both monstrous and minuscule. What stood out most of all was the worry that I'd spend the rest of my life wondering what this poem could have achieved. There was only one way to find out. By the time the sun rose, I knew one thing for sure. I was going to be the 2021 inaugural poet. I can't say I was completely confident in my choice, but I was completely committed to it. I'm a firm believer that often terror is trying to tell us of a force far greater than despair. In this way, I look at fear not as cowardice, but as a call forward, a summons to fight for what we hold dear. And now more than ever, we have every right to be affected, afflicted, affronted. If you're alive, you're afraid. If you're not afraid, then you're not paying attention. The only thing we have to fear is having no fear itself, having no feeling on behalf of whom and what we've lost, whom and what we love. On that January 20th, what I found waiting beyond my fear was all those who searched beyond their own fears to find space for hope in their lives, who welcomed the impact of a poem into protests, hospitals, classrooms, conversations, living rooms, offices, art, and all manner of moments. I may have worked on the words, but it was other people who put those words to work. What we've seen isn't just the power of a poem, it's the power of the people. And yes, I am still terrified every day. Yet fear can be love trying its best in the dark. So do not fear your fear, own it, free it. This isn't a liberation that I or anyone can give you. It's a power you must look for, learn, love, lead, and locate for yourself. Why? The truth is, hope isn't a promise we give. It's a promise we live. Tell it like this, and we, like our words, will not rest. And the rest is history.
When the day's about to break, there is peace, there is peace. Grab my coffee out the door, I'm running late. There is peace, there is peace. Can we reconcile this life? Gather up our strength and turn the tide, there is peace. When I pass a sister on the street, where is peace? Where is peace? There's a story there that I cannot see. Where is peace? There is peace. Can we reconcile this life? Gather up our strength and turn the tide, there is peace, there is peace. Oh, 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 oh. On the train at the end of the day, there is peace, there is peace. When I have more doubt than I can even name, there is peace, there is peace. Can we reconcile this life? Gather up our strength and turn the tide, there is peace, there is peace. There is peace, 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 there is
Well, it's been 3 weeks since the new year. Has anybody else given up on their resolutions yet? Well, either way, this sermon's for you. Okay, picture it. A young child is going sledding on her favorite hill. She has brought along her favorite sled, and she keeps starting at her favorite spot next to the same tree on the top of the hill. At some point, she begins to realize that the track she has made just keeps getting more and more worn. The grooves of the sled locking into place with the grooves of the freezing snow. She doesn't know why she's beginning to get bored until she mixes it up and invites her brother to join her. With two bodies on the sled, especially one who has a lot of frenetic energy, they take a different path. They break out of the usual groove, and it's horribly delightful. Do you know how many times I've made New Year's resolutions that don't exactly stick? Even while I'm trying it, I recognize the irony. I know that quote from Einstein, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. If I'm being honest, I think this quote might have been the thing that got me out of the rut of making overly ambitious and unrealistic New Year's resolutions. But I still fall back into that trap regularly. I still make New Year's resolutions, even though I hate making them and have resolved to stop making them. I'd even go so far as to say that I am resolute in not making resolutions. but I keep doing it. I mean, it's a ritual. It's a pattern that I must find some kind of value in, right? And then those unfulfilled resolutions inevitably lead me to a process of reflection about why I make them and how to make different ones and how to adapt to the changing circumstances. I remember an incredibly funny but sad memory that a friend had when they realized that they had made a resolution in January of 2020 to travel more. I mean, you almost have to laugh, even if you're also crying. These unfulfilled resolutions end up teaching us that we are human and hence fallible. When it comes down to it, we don't control all the factors that end up shaping our lives. That's just reality. We end up forgetting and learning it again the next year. And I think this is what the poet David Whyte means in his description of the word regret. He calls it an elegy of lost possibilities. And then he goes on to chide those of us who insist that we have no regrets. He pokes fun at those people who say that they are brave and forward-looking and could not possibly imagine their life any other way than the way it is. I just want to take a moment here to admit that he's talking about me. I've often thought that it's best to speak as if I don't live in regret. What good is regretting something that's already happened? I have said in the past. You can't change the past. But that's exactly Whyte's point. The concept of sincere regret isn't about beating yourself up about past mistakes. It's not shame-based. It's more oriented toward letting past actions and their consequences inform new and varied actions as we build toward a different future. His reframing is much more nuanced, and it brings us back to our original question. Why would we expect different results while doing the same thing over and over? If we don't let ourselves feel regret, we might not course correct. We might not adjust the trajectory of our sled, and then we'll only know one sledding path. Sincere regret that motivates us to right action or different action, that is an incredible gift. Whyte argues that sincere regret might be, in fact, the actual mental power needed for paying attention to the future. Let's say it again. Sincere regret might be, in fact, the actual mental power needed for paying attention to the future. For sensing a new tide where we missed a previous one. For experiencing timelessness with a grandchild where we neglected a child of our own. To regret fully is to appreciate how high the stakes are in even the average human life. Fully experienced, regret turns our eyes, attentive and alert, to a future possibly lived better than our past. End quote. But to fully accept sincere regret, we must have grace with ourselves as we encounter our own imperfections. And we also need the tenacity and drive to restart, to get back up again, to forgive ourselves and each other, and begin again in love. For me, a prime example of this principle is my Journal of Delights. I made the resolution in January of 2020 to write a short daily delight in this very journal right here. I even told many of you about this commitment, partially in the hopes that some accountability would help me stick to it. And guess how long I made it? 6 days. January 7th, that was the first day that I didn't write an entry. And I didn't pick it up again until this week, which is 2 full years later. I made it 6 whole days, full stop. I didn't write another delight into this journal at all. And I'm telling this to you now as a reminder that when we fall off the horse, we can always get back on the horse, or even just find the horse again. What is that thing that lives beyond intention? What can we find there in the space beyond intention, where our grace must meet our imperfection? The past few years, I've encountered different rituals that people employ during the new year, during January, that don't involve resolutions, and I'm excited to explore them more. Mainly because resolutions alone won't change the rut of the sled. For these New Year rituals, some people use tarot cards. Some people make collages or other art, highlighting some of the main words and images and goals that they want to keep at the forefront of their minds for the year. And some people choose just one word as their word for the year. I've gotten really curious about these systems, these rituals, because they allow folks to have more say in their goals and to take some initiative. Done well, these rituals should be empowering, not like some force beyond you has chosen your path and now you're stuck. So this year, as an exercise, I used an animal-based tarot card deck and did a reading for the new year. I flipped over one card for each month of the year, and I flipped over one card for the entire overarching year. It felt like a lot of pressure, but January calls for bravery and boldness. The card for the year was the Crow card, and some of the key words were creative, spiritually strong, and watchful. The first line read, "The crow has long been a symbol of magic." Now, I don't know the ins and outs and all the nuances of the animal-based tarot card deck, but I do know that these types of readings are more about the person and their projections onto the cards than about what the cards themselves particularly mean. When I tried to think about this upcoming year as a year of magic, I struggled. I experienced not just a lack of optimism, but a lack of imagination. I struggled to even imagine a single magical possibility for this year, let alone believing that it would come to fruition. In that moment, I realized that I needed to feed my imagination more and also my creativity. If I can't imagine it, I probably can't work toward it or even take the first step. Weeks before this moment, I had named out loud the intention of creating a meditation room in my home space for a more regular meditation practice. At the bottom of the Crow card, where it made a single suggestion of how to bring your crow power into balance, it simply said, daily meditation practice. I scoffed as if a daily meditation practice were some kind of factual impossibility. The cynic in me knows that that won't actually happen. I mean, I have the knowledge in my body and in my spirit of past resolutions, memories, daily goals like this one that went the way of extinction. But what if I reframed the invitation? What if it's not about making sure that I do a thing every day so that I can check it off the list and feel a sense of accomplishment at the end of the year? What if it's more about committing to a practice of meditation and noticing what happens when I meditate and when I don't? If I state my goal to meditate every day, what happens when I miss a day or two? Do I just throw the whole intention away? Or do I check back in with myself about what other priorities and intentions are clamoring for my attention? Along with many other factors in my life, the Crow card encouraged a daily meditation practice. I already wanted that, and I want to resolve to move in that direction. I want to state and name this intention, and I even want to try to feed and grow this intention, because it won't remain sustained on mental resolution or mental commitment alone. There will be a lot of inertia pulling at me and old patterns trying to repeat. It will take fire and commitment, and it will take grace when I fall down or fail. I'm also not making the commitment just so I can unlock some kind of achievement. Life isn't a video game where you have to beat the boss and get to the next level. This intention has depth and meaning, and there's a lot to learn, both when I meditate and when I don't. The sled will try to find its usual rut, but I'm going to try new sleds and new hills. Institutions also experience this inertia and these same ruts and unhealthy patterns. which is why racism and racial justice were the main topics of consideration for the Commission on Institutional Change. The Commission produced a report called Widening the Circle of Concern that highlights these patterns and the ways that institutional racism has affected and burrowed into our association of UU congregations, otherwise known as the UUA. Next month's theme here is widening the circle for this very reason, and I'm excited to explore this topic with you all. In the meantime, I have made a point to choose a word for myself this year, and it seems both unrealistic and out of the question, which is partially why I'm choosing it. The word I'm choosing is hope. When I think back to 2009, I was actually in DC for Obama's first inauguration. Hope was in the air. It was in the songs we were singing. It was on the forefront of our minds. It was part of Obama's campaign slogan. Hope would probably not have been a helpful or challenging word for 2009, but that was 13 years ago. A lot has happened since then. And this year, in the year I'm calling 2022, naming hope as the word of my year feels like a radical and daunting choice. I'm scared that I'm going to get my hope bruised. I'm scared how the people around me, both friends and strangers, maybe even myself, will treat my sense of hope. But I'm still choosing it. And hope stands for more than some flimsy concept like optimism. Hope involves action. It involves interrupting inertia. In her book, Hope in the Dark, Rebecca Solnit says, hope locates itself in the place where we don't know what will happen, and that in the spaciousness of uncertainty is room to act. Hope is an embrace of the unknown and the unknowable. This hope has teeth. It has grit. It takes a lot of courage to make space for hope. And like Amanda Gorman, what I want to find waiting beyond my fear is all those others who searched beyond their own fears to find space for hope in their lives. What lies beyond our intention is fear, but what lies beyond our fear is a space for hope. And it takes work to get to that space, to do the joyful work of tidying up that messy room that is our lives, to put into storage those painful memories that want to keep us from trying again because it didn't work out last time. Hope invites us to remain open to new possibilities, open to the magic of the crow card. But it also invites us to try new pathways if old ones aren't working. If you've been running and pushing and striving, maybe January can be a time for stopping. Like Gloria taught us in her chalice lighting words. Maybe whatever you're doing right now is your sense of busy, and you don't have to apologize for it. I don't know about you, but sometimes I can be pretty achievement oriented. Even about meditation, which is usually a thing that defies a sense of achievement or grasping. The great Vietnamese Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh died yesterday, and I was reminded of something he said about slowing down. There is no need to run, strive, search, or struggle. Just be. Just being in the moment in this place is the deepest practice of meditation. Most people cannot believe that just walking as if you have nowhere to go is enough. The Buddha said, "My practice is the practice of non-practice." That means a lot. Give up all struggle. Allow yourself to be, to rest. People talk about entering nirvana, but we are already there. Aimlessness and nirvana are one. Many of us have been running all our lives. Practice stopping. And in this moment of stopping, Set an intention or two in whatever format works for you. Maybe you'll be courageous enough to join our Blessing Buddies program, where you can give and receive blessings. I mean, that is such a gift, and it's just part of what it means to be a spiritual community. We're in this together. Let's take the advice of Amanda Gorman and choose to feel our fear in its fullness, and then view it like she does, as a call forward, a summons to fight for what we hold dear. Tell it like this, and we, like our words, will not rest, and the rest is history. Blessed be, and amen. Please join in our closing hymn, Find a Stillness, number 352 in the gray hymnal.
Find a stillness, hold a stillness, let the stillness carry me. Find the silence, hold the silence, let the silence carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony. Seek the essence, hold the essence, let the essence carry me. Let me flower, help me flower, watch me flower, carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony.
Let's let hope be a promise that we can live, a promise that we can live into, imperfectly, but regularly, alone and as a community. May it be so, and make it so. Go in peace. And just a reminder, our cyber social hour begins 5 minutes after the postlude.